It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customary tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This is UBC Radio, the home of inspiration.
Honey, Panange, why are you not responding?
I've been tethering the goats.
Hey, okay.
Anything wrong?
Not as such. But sweetheart,
What?
Mama, is it true drinking alcohol can help prevent COVID-19?
No, my darling. That is going beyond. The simple remedy is you should often wash your hands with soap and running water. Wear a mask while in public and keep a distance of at least 2 meters from another person. And in case of any symptoms, seek medical advice from a professional doctor.
Okay. What about spraying alcohol on my body? Can it kill the virus inside?
No, my dear. It can only damage your skin, but cannot kill the virus inside you.
Thanks, my husband, for educating me.
You're welcome.
I now know that if everyone took up their responsibility,
Yes?
we can together fight the coronavirus.
Yes, my dear wife. The fight against coronavirus is in your hands. This is a message from UBC. UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customary tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This is Independent Sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Buduri FM, 100.5 Nge FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Hello Uganda, hello Africa, and the world at large. You are most welcome to this edition of Ground Zero. We are broadcasting live on 98 FM UBC Radio. We are also live and clear on our sister radio stations, UBC Butebo, UBC West Nile, and Magic 100 FM. It is a beautiful day, I believe, that the Lord has made, and we must be glad and rejoice in it. It is yet another important edition of Ground Zero, where we discuss issues that concern Uganda, which I believe is our motherland, and we shall not have another Uganda. And what Uganda is what we make it. Our contributions today, our efforts today, will determine so much of what this country will become tomorrow. Tomorrow might be the next minute, may mean the next hour, the next week, next month, or next years. Today we are discussing something important that I believe you and I should have a contribution towards making Uganda a better country. We're going to talk about budget. We're going to discuss the fiscal policies. We're going to discuss the economics of our country. When you and I don't have this economic power, we may not enjoy Uganda as we wish. I'm so much glad that I've been joined by a special team of guests. We're going to break this edition and expound it and give it a meaning. Our topic today in Ground Zero, we're discussing to what extent will the financial budget 2022-2023 solve Uganda's development challenges. And in the studios, I'm glad to have Eddie Tuineyo Komujisha is the economist, author, CEO, Uganda Export Promotion Board. Sophia Nampewo is the senior economist, Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. Felix Adupa, President, Transformer Cadres Association of Uganda. And Ampairi Amonotega is my name. Our dear listener, you will join the conversation later on 776-511-426 and share your ideas and your opinions on what you think Uganda need to achieve in the next years, but especially in this very budget. What do you think about this budget? What are the opportunities in this very budget? Because we believe that the government budgeting is important because it enables government to plan and manage its financial resources to support the implementation of various programs and projects that best promote the development of Uganda. I will give you some seconds to greet the people of Uganda who are listening now, starting with Eddie.
Morning, listeners. I'm called Ed Tuineyo Komujisha. As they introduced me, I work with Uganda Export Promotion Board.
You're most welcome to this edition of Ground Zero.
Thank you.
Sophie Nampewo.
Good morning, our listeners. I hope you're all doing well. I'm happy to be part of this discussion this morning and glad that you're joining us.
Important.
Thank you.
Adupa.
Good morning, Ugandans. Adupa Ngwech Felix is my name. I am happy to be here, and I believe that our deliberation will yield fruits for the best interest of our country.
Interesting. You're most welcome, gentlemen and a lady, to UBC Ground Zero. We always share this discussion with the people of Uganda listening in on radio and online audience. We're also streaming live on YouTube. You just type in Ground Zero UBC. Allow me get one caller to introduce us to this very edition. We also need to know the other side of our audience. UBC.
Good morning, Empire. I'm Jima from Butebo, ready for the show.
Oh, great. Having heard from the other audience, we are now connected in one spirit of discussion, and it is important that we understand where and how Uganda is going to be run. As I said before, that the budget is so important. Are we expecting a cut? Are we likely to have more and more of the prices increasing? Because we are in a dilemma of the increasing prices on essentials and great commodities in this country, and every Ugandan is concerned about this. But our target today is more of the budget. 2022-2023. What are the opportunities in this budget? What should we expect? What are the challenges? What should we expect on 14th, this very month of June, where the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is going to give his speech on budget. Starting with you, Eli, what is budget and why should we know or get concerned about the budget that is yet to be read on 14th? Eli?
Yeah, a budget is important. Let me first give the background of a budget. That a budget is a tool. It's a tool that the government uses to manage the affairs, to implement the affairs of the country for the next year. And the budget is both a political and an economic tool. Political in that the ruling party, the government in power, has made promises to the people in their compact with the people in their manifesto when they were campaigning, and have been voted for that very reason. So politically, they have to implement programs that they promised the people who voted them. And the other part is economic, because economic is, the distribution of resources, but that economic part is again influenced by the politics, because for you to achieve a political objective, you must have money to spend on the economy. And it is money, as we are concerned in Uganda, the budget is mainly divided into two parts when it is being spent: development and recurrent. Development, as you hear it, is for development activities. Is if you are going to do activities that will, in the long run, help us. Recurrent is you have wages and you have these other expenditures that we do on activities. And of course, then the budget is according to the sectors. And we have social sector, security and governance, transport, agriculture, trade, and others, as we'll be discussing. Thank you.
Most welcome. Sophie, as an economist, why is Uganda concerned about 2022-2023 budget? What is the uniqueness? What are the opportunities? What should we expect, having known what the budget is? Sophie?
Thank you very much. What is the uniqueness? What are the expectations? And what should we know about the next year's budget? And from us knowing what the budget is, why should we be concerned about the next financial year's budget? For starters, the next financial year is coming in at a time when, after the last 2 years where we have our economy fully opened. That happened in January. Schools, we went back to school. We had children go back to school. We had businesses operating fully, and we have a number of external factors that are affecting our economy, but that doesn't stop us from operating. We've got the Bank of Uganda telling us that our inflation rates are going high, and most of them are unfortunately from imported. They're imported, externally caused. And the Bank of Uganda is also at a state where it's saying, well, I'm going to increase my rate, so commercial banks have to act accordingly. And that's majorly to keep, to manage the demand that is around. We have our revenue going, we are still, we have collections. I won't say that we're not collecting as much, but it's not up to what we expect. This financial year, we expect to collect up to 22 trillion. We are yet to hear how far we've gone from the taxman, that is Revenue Authority. But up to half year, we hadn't reached our expected collections. We had a shortfall of 880 billion of what we expected to have collected then. However, despite the collections, we expect to collect 25.7 trillion in the next financial year. So we hope that everyone will be in place to pay their taxes as expected. That's for our domestic revenue, and of that, 23.7 trillion is expected to be got from our taxes. We hope to have a budget that is up to 48 trillion in the next financial year, which is about 4 trillion more than what we are spending this financial year. And that is a plus for us in terms of expenditure. And just to go deeper into that budget, we are seeing that human capital development is taking the biggest proportion, up to 18.16% of the total budget, which is a plus for us, as that directly deals with the ordinary citizen or the last person in the community, where it deals directly with issues around education, around health, around water, sanitation and hygiene, and social development, basically looking at the well-being of an individual. We are glad to see as civil society, especially, that the biggest proportion of the budget is going to that. And then government is ensuring that we are safe. So security, governance and security is taking up the next proportion, which is up to 14.6%. And then transport and infrastructure, taking up to 8.6% of the next year's budget. That notwithstanding, we can't leave out some of the issues that are affecting our economy. We have, despite the budget and its big proportions, we are seeing a big proportion still going to payment of wages and salaries, which is recurrent expenditure, as Mr. Tuneo mentioned. We have up to 15.689 billion expected to be towards recurrent expenditure of the 48 trillion budget, and 14.598 is towards development expenditure, what would see going more into bringing us more revenue income within the country. And we have quite a proportion going to domestic financing. Up to 16.6 of the total budget is going towards domestic refinancing. Government is going to be paying some of its debts that it has internally, where it borrows from commercial banks. But also we have up to 12.5% of our budget going to interest payments. And about 5% will be towards covering our external debt. And government is still hinged towards paying its domestic areas, so up to about 697 billion will be towards paying domestic areas. So people within the private sector to whom government owes money, government is looking forward to clearing a number of them, and we hope that will still go back towards development within business as private sector thrives.
All right. Interesting. Felix, President's Transformer Cadres Association, if you don't mind, you would give us a brief introduction of what that association is. Perhaps I could join in seconds later. And also, you will tell us what are the opportunities that you see in the next financial budget of this country.
Thank you very much, my brother. Transformer Cadres Association Uganda, it's an umbrella that brings together those who participated in NRM primaries election in 2020, but they did not make it to parliament. And our main focus now is that to work together with the party and to make sure that National Resistance Movement achieve its objectives and the implementation of the manifesto for these 5 years that the country has given NRM government another 5 years mandate. So we're looking at the budget 2022-2023. That's about 48 trillion Uganda shillings budget. And according to the minister in charge budget, the 2022-2023 budget is to focus on economic recovery. And one of the main aims that we are having is that the government now is focusing on handling the health issues and also see how the country recover from economic challenges that we had during the pandemic for 2 years. When I look at the 48 trillion budget, and we are talking about focusing on economic recovery, number one, there is one issue that I want to put across. For the first time in NDP3, the NRM government is implementing the NDP3 at the same time we are implementing our manifesto. And that's why you see things like PDM is now being worked on, because it's part of the NRM manifesto. Now, another key issue here is that where I may look it as a very big challenge in this budget, it is the sector of agriculture. There is already a very big challenge there, whereby the government had not focused too much into agriculture. And where we are adding to ASPA now, I think food security should be the most important thing for a country at this stage. Because when you look at the situation and the skyrocketing price of commodities, you look at most of the things agricultural products and inputs have not been focused on. So if this budget has not covered agriculture properly, then I may say that we will not realize something good into this 48 trillion budget. Agriculture was to be a main priority. And I remember when I was telling some members of parliament, I said, look, guys, instead of us talking about, first of all, when we are talking about the PDM, you look at how it is started. You and I knows very well. The project started with 100 million per parish. Later on, we come back to 70 million per parish. Now we have zeroed on 17 million per parish. So when you look at that, it's kind of a mockery. The in a good way, but then the last person who's supposed to have this money is getting a peanut out of the total budget. So to me, as a politician and at the same time as a member of the party, we are not expecting, I don't expect much to change as far as this financial year budget 2022-2023 is concerned. Because you look at there are a lot of debts. She has talked about it. And some percentages are going to clear domestic areas, external areas, and so on. And when you look at the budget, we are not going to finance this budget fully. Look at the taxes we are talking about. 22 point something trillion shillings need to be locally generated from our revenue here. But at the same time, what kind of economy are we running to generate some of this money, these taxes from? This is a very serious fundamental questions that most of them are not answered properly by our technical staffs in the office of the Minister for Finance. They are really sugarcoating some of these things. You want to raise 20 point something trillion, but when you look at people you are taxing, others have slept hungry for 2 days. You are taxing them. They don't have what to eat. You have not even provided food security for them, but you are going ahead to tax them so that you can raise the 20 point something trillion, which even when you look at the money that we are trying to generate as a country, if it was in good faith that it helps us, then that would be a good revenue for a country. But you look at a certain unproductive priorities which have been put in place, but at the same time we look it like it's productive, but you find that it is not doing its meaning. The reason why that money has been allocated. Parliament has rejected about 394 billion shilling that was reallocated to Loboa. But now we cannot even know how much so far we have spent in Loboa, and the project is not helping us. And look at this main focus of the budget. Now they are talking about also health facilities, talking about health of the country. But the money that has been allocated in the last financial year has not yet been, implementing what has been put across on. So these are challenges that we need to address before even talking about recovery from all these economic challenges and so on. This budget its priority needs to touch the common man. Not some of us who are here in Kampala speaking big English and good grammar, but the common wananchi are not feeling the budget itself. So to me, I don't expect much in this 2023, 2022, 2023 financial year budget. I don't expect. I was expecting much if the PDM or money has been, again increased to a certain amount of money that help a community to understand and realize the project. But when you look at also this project, this community are not sensitized. Even they don't know what the PDM is going to do to them.
You are the same person who says that Uganda needs to divert its all attention to agriculture, and I thought PDM is much more targeting agriculture.
You see,
I thought you would be celebrating even.
I can celebrate when I see the framework of the project is well rooted. Okay, but I asked my mother yesterday. I said, "Are you in this PDM group?" He said, "Yes." We are waiting for that money. I think the money is like for Emioga, Ketandekwa, and so on. That is what they are taking the money for.
I thought they're handling region per region.
And when you look at regions, you are talking about regions. Come back like in northern Uganda where I come from. This region needs a lot of special attention. For 22 years in war, poverty is too high. NGOs have been going there, and what those people are used to, first of all, when there is a meeting called for, they know at the end of the day there's an allowance. Okay? And some of them understand that this money that they are going to give them under PDM, it is just kind of recovery from the poverty that have been having for a very long time. The government is not telling that this money much as is to recover you from poverty, but is to make sure that it is sustain you and you get from the level where you are to the next level. They have not educated these people, but you are giving them money. Why do you think when a bank you are going for loan, there are so many measures? You have to know, I'm going to get a business loan. What business are you doing? How much do you get? What are the capital you injected before? You are looking at expanding the budget, the business. What do you expect? All those things need to be done.
Which challenge do you see in PDM, to be specific?
Number one, before we even start giving this money, we need sensitization, serious mindset. That is a big challenge. If that is not dealt with,
and before you told
the money will not realize it.
And before you told us that you called your mother yesterday or some time back and said had not received anything, I thought they're doing that sensitization before they receive the money.
For they are waiting. They are already put in groups. They are waiting when the money is coming.
It is. I thought it is sensitization first, then they get the money later.
You see,
Adupa.
You see.
Point of information,
please, you're allowed,
which can never be rejected. And I was seeing my former friend Sophie Nampeo trying to come in, also itching. How does an economy develop? How do we get out of poverty?
Recovering.
How do we recover, especially after the COVID pandemic, where people spent almost 2 years without working
and spending.
And Sophie said a good thing, that money has been put, at the beginning I said, I called it social sector, but she amplified it very well, human capital development. And she looked at the issues of health, issues of education, she talked of water, she talked of sanitation, she talked of social development. There are two parts. One is commercialization of the economy, which we hopefully will come with the parish development model, people being able to produce, but also aggregate at the parish level, the quantities and the quality that is right. Because the challenge, if we have to get out of poverty, we have to reduce the level of subsistence, which has been what the president calls cholera rutos. and he normally jokes about it in Rugwere, calls it Kida Chonka. People who have been working for their stomachs. The parish model is aimed at them getting out of poverty, being able to produce, being able to have financial resources, being able to go to the market, and then and then we get money, because if we don't sell anything, I always tell people everywhere I go, if we have nothing to sell in the market, if we have nothing to sell in the market, whether it is a good or a service, then you know poverty is already in your home, and you will not take it away. The other aspect, of course, again, which would be very important, is we should not forget that for you to develop an economy, private sector development is important. And I see when you look at agri-industrialization support and even private sector development support in the budget, however, other people think it is not enough. This is important for boosting the private sector, because it is the private sector that produces goods and services, and the others are consumers. And the private sector, when it grows, when it is supported, then we'll get more money, then we'll get more investments, then we'll get more small cottage industries, then we'll make, then the economy will move. And the other aspect I wanted to add on that is very important, myself having just come from DR Congo, Kinshasa, and Goma, the investment in security and governance is too important, because you cannot get out of poverty when you are insecure. You cannot promote tourism when you are insecure. And also, Honorable Matia Kasaija says money hates noise. Money hates noise and money will run away. But again, like Adupa says, you can see the effect of over 20 years of insecurity in northern Uganda, what it caused. Okay. Yet Uganda has got the most fertile resources, fertile land and everything. Right. Mine was point of information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adupa, you may conclude in seconds.
You see, I want to remind my brother, he never abused the crocodile before you crossed the river. Because you may not know your journey through the river, anything can happen. But to put the record straight, I am not criticizing that there is nothing much that this budget can do. My only submission is here that much as the 2022-2023 financial year budget of 48 trillion shilling, should focus basically on our community who are in stinking poverty. They should look into that. This grammar, this big English we are speaking in Kampala, we should start reverting back to our villages to make sure that those people are out.
If I may interject, Adupa, how do you want the budget to focus on poverty? Sophie, go ahead.
Okay, shall we
clarify that?
In seconds, Sophie.
As in the next financial year, the focus is actually saying that the communities are developed, they are lifted, if I may use that, and the 4 key economic drivers that government is looking at is, one is the parish development model, going further down to the parishes and taking away the bit that these people need resources, but they're unable to get the commercial banks because of a number of complications that come through. They don't have enough security, the procedures are long. So they are forming circles that they are circles that government is putting money in that will provide resources to most of these people who are mainly in agriculture. That is why I also wanted to disagree with Mr. Dupo when he was saying that less is going to agriculture. Most of this money is to avail resources, credit at low rates to be able for these people to invest into their production. And that drive is increasing productivity in agriculture. And there's also a myoga that is still going on. It might have its challenges, but it's still working. there's a small business recovery fund that government is still going to take up, and also financing UDB and UDC for the large and middle.
All right.
Enterprises.
Maybe.
And
to add on what Sophie is saying, Sophie, me and you, we live in this country for a very long time, and we are living here. Let us, the problem we are having as a country is living in self-denials. Okay? Me and you know what we are talking about. It's good you have mentioned about Emyoga. Have you gone to your village and find out how Emyoga is doing?
Yes, I have. That's why I said it might have its challenges, but it's working for some. Yes.
Now, have you forecast the challenges that the PDM is going to have?
Right now, I'm hopeful that it will work better.
You see, how many parishes do you have in your sub-county?
Sophie is not working in local government.
You see, be realistic on certain aspect, okay? You see, I have 294 parishes, okay, in my constituency where I come from. There is a parish that has got over 48 households, okay? But you have given that parish 17 million. 17 million. And they have 48 households.
But not every household is in need of that income.
Exactly.
Who told you?
Not every household is in need of that credit.
I think every Uganda needs that money
within their circles, and those who are going to receive. If your mother is going to receive, I'm sure she has been. She has met her commercial officer and the CDO, and they've taken her through what is expected.
Now,
all right.
There is one thing I want you to understand in the structure of Paris.
In seconds, Dupa.
You know,
as you conclude your point,
the support staff that have been recruited, you are aware. One supposed to to help more than, let's say, 100 or 400.
There are committees that have been set up.
Now,
that's a few. Can give him seconds to finish his
point.
Out
of the 17 million, 1% of that money, actually 3%, is on monitoring and so on. Out of 17 million, it is reducing. Are we together? Implementation of that money without them having a proper education, proper sensitization. You have given one group 1.5 million. They are venturing into piggery. Are we together? How much even constructing just a house of that piggery is costing? If you look at it technically, has even exhausted the money you have given it to a group.
All right. Thank you, Adupa. I will get back to you on that.
Value, okay, for this money.
All right. Kamcha, I would love to engage you in this very one. We are all talking about economic recovery. That we are looking at 48 trillion in the next financial year budget. I'm looking at the 2020, where we had so many challenges. We had the flooding in Kasese and other parts in this country. We had the locusts. We were in COVID, but we had about 45 trillion, which is equal to 12.5 billion US dollars. Why now do we have more, yet we have less challenges?
Moderator, we have more challenges
compared to what we had in 2020.
Because you see, once you are falling in a pit, getting out. But before I go to that, I want to first tell my brother Dupa that actually this export, I'm only promoting export. Me and Sophie, that's why I said she ran away from me. We have been involved in budget I dedicated more time to budget analysis. Even I went even to districts. I've gone Namutumba, Zombo, Koboko, Antonde, Kabare, many parts of Uganda.
Have you seen where you have been to? You have not been to Amuro, where the
I have been to Amur, I have been to Alebutong, I have been to
where the
Morata, I have been to Mayuge, I have been to Ruka. So I have been to all these places.
You see where he has been to.
Why much more money when we have lesser challenges?
Let me leave Adupa because Adupa is a politician and I don't understand. I am an economist, I don't understand. So the budget, you see, there is what Sophie was talking about, something to be sustainability, resilience of an economy. Uganda for a long time had done very well, as you know. Until 2008, we got global recession, which affected everybody, but small economies are affected. Let me mention this, that a small open economy is a price taker. Let me begin with that simple. I'll explain what I mean by that. A small open economy is a price taker. What do we mean? In economics, when we say you are a price taker, you have no control over what you buy, even over what you sell. Uganda is a small open economy like other economies, and therefore is affected by all the winds that come from external sources. So we talked about it that in the introduction about even that we import inflation, because then we cannot be self-sustaining. But I should also remind people that no economy can be self-sustaining. Economies have to import and they have to export. They have to borrow, they have to lend. This budget is meant to reduce poverty after a pandemic. You will see a big budget for the social sector development. You will see a big budget for parish money going to local government. There is local-led development. There is PDM. But you see, we still have these funds, women funds, youth funds, Emioga. All efforts, like if you have been to a hospital and somebody was about to die, they bring electric shock, and they put the person jumps back to life, and they push the person jumps back to life, and then you put glucose, and then the person can go. This budget is
a compressor shock
to jumpstart this economy after pandemic, which meant that, for example, the night economy for 2 years they were not working, which meant that jobs were suppressed. And in Uganda, most jobs are created by individuals as households and as individuals, because the private sector is sometimes those people who are on in the agriculture, even in subsistence.
Okay.
So this economy needs quite jump starting, and this economy, this budget, according to the permanent secretary to the treasury, is meant to commercialize Uganda, is meant to put Uganda in a formal economy, is meant to put Uganda in a market economy, is meant to promote private sector development.
All right. Sophie, we are talking about shortfalls every year. How should the government solve this kind of problem? And what is the source of this problem? Is it that the people of Uganda are not paying the taxes, or even the tax body or organ that is interested with this noble role is not doing its best? You talked about 800 something billion that has not been corrected.
Thank you. Shortfalls. Before I get to shortfalls, I just wanted to mention something in line with the disasters and other challenges. I'm glad to highlight that in the next financial year, we have at least a budget that is there for contingencies, up to 223 billion. We've had issues every now and then. We get a disaster and we have nowhere to start from, and we usually go to a supplementary, but this time there is up to 5% of the budget going towards that. So in case we are to have any, we could have where to start from. Back to shortfalls. When I was talking about the budget earlier on, we have a budget of 48 trillion, and we expect to collect up to 25 trillion. That's already a shortfall. That is showing us that we don't have money that we are going to use to spend on what we want to spend. That also indicates that our desire to spend is high. But that shouldn't be a problem. everywhere you'll have budgets, and that's why banks are there for people to go and borrow. So with that, us expecting to get up to 25 trillion, which Mr. Dupo had mentioned earlier, people don't have money to pay the taxes. Yes, government is trying to squeeze money, every penny it can from everywhere, and there are always proposals that it comes up with. But even with that, using the example that I earlier mentioned, we have a shortfall of 88. We had a shortfall of 880 billion by December 2021 for this financial year's budget. So how do we expect to cover up? One, apart from collecting the taxes, Ugandans expect us pay taxes. There are some who don't pay taxes. We have a very large informal sector that can contribute to our resource envelope, but is still difficult for government to get into. Difficult in a way that some of them are not known anywhere in the systems. I might have my small shop. I make about 10 million a month, but then apart from my LC knowing that I have the shop, there is no record about me. So those are challenges. And there are also some that are big, that are known, that have an address but still don't pay their taxes. So there are gaps in tax collections. Some, because of revenue authority, its administration, there are a number of administrative challenges, the capacity gaps, but also the staffing itself. They might not have enough people to go down to pick the records of these people and also get to know how much they should be taxed. But even then, where they've been able to get these people down to those areas to take note of who they are and how much they make, a number of people don't keep records. So if the taxman comes to you and they want to know how has your business been faring, for them to assess how much to charge you, I'll ask you where are the records from January last year, and you won't have most of them. How much stock are you getting in? How much are you selling? That is supposed to guide the taxman, but they're not able to get that.
All right.
So moving from that, you find that government has to look for money to cover up this shortfall. So you'll find it will put out treasury bills and bonds, basically borrowing internally, and also borrowing externally in terms of taking up debt. And we've seen an increase in our debt to GDP ratio. We've had a rise where government is borrowing from both the concessional and the non-concessional, and unfortunately the non-concessional becomes a challenge to us, where we're borrowing more from people who might have tougher terms in terms of us paying back than what we'd get from some who are a bit liberal. If in that area, I would say if you had to talk to the IMF and World Bank, they are less stringent than what China will be in terms of charging us. But then that also brings in a challenge to us, where we get to a point and we have to pay quite a lot in terms of servicing our debt. In the next financial year, we expect to have up to 14.6% of our total revenues going to payment of debt interest. But also, we've had discussions about us going beyond the threshold, the 50%, which is expected to happen in the next financial year. We might get to about 52% of our debt to GDP, which would not be a challenge because anyone borrows. But then how we use our debt, the money that we've borrowed, becomes the issue. We've had issues where the Auditor General is telling us up to maybe 40% of our projects are not working well. That becomes a problem. If we've borrowed and we're not using this money well, not putting it to good use, the projects are working slowly because of our procurement processes. But then also, in some instances, what we get the money for, sometimes we get it when you're not ready. That becomes the challenge.
Sophie, just information maybe. She has put something very, very, very interesting that the Auditor General has always, in his report, that most of the government projects are not well implemented. Okay? And these monies, when you look at it, are borrowed finance project money. Now, he's talking about challenges in this. Number one, we're not even yet sure next financial year whether we are going to have money to fully finance the PDM. We may also borrow. Are we together? We may also borrow money.
We are borrowing because we're expecting to make some profits.
To put into PDM. Then the same challenges, okay, that it may fail to work the way it was meant to be. It means that it has again increased. Are we together? On our on our debts. So this brings to my simple questions and understanding that how do we deal with some of these challenges where government borrow money? It is supposed to finance infrastructure development. These projects are not well implemented. The burden of payment of the debts comes back, okay, to us as a country. How do we deal with those challenges? Why are the people who are supposed to implement some of these projects with borrowed money are not doing their work properly?
All right.
Are you seeing? Those are some of the serious and critical issues.
Adupa, what do you suggest?
Okay.
Let's give Sophie seconds to finish her point.
To what was I'll start with Adupa. What was asking what can we do, and I'm glad to report I also got to learn about recently that the Minister of Finance is looking into these projects to see how they've been performing. Those that have not been performing, they put a stop to them and see what the challenges are. They are into a process where they want to see if they should restructure or revise or cancel some of these projects. Yes, they'll have implications on us because this is borrowed money, but these discussions can be held with the lenders to see how best we can move forward, which is a challenge in terms of development, but it is better than letting them go and get to the end and realize that we've done nothing. That is a plus, I would think. So in terms of the shortfalls, I think I'd mentioned what we'll see coming through. We expect to borrow, we expect to collect revenue, but just to go back to us as ordinary citizens and normal taxpayers, it is within our interests if we pay our taxes. So when we pay our taxes, we'll be borrowing less and relying less on external funders. So this is a call to us all, wherever you can, whoever is in position to pay their taxes, please do and oblige to what is required so that we become more independent as a nation.
All right. Adupa, as you said, we are borrowing more than we expected. And this money, when it comes, at the end of the day, the burden is not put to those who borrowed, but to the people of Uganda. What do you think needs to be done?
Number one, the reason why this money we borrowed and it does not, the implementation becomes very poorly, is all based on corruption.
What needs to be done?
We have to fight this vice of corruption very seriously. It should not be just talking.
Who is responsibility?
Okay? Of course, the executive need to look into it. But unfortunately, in certain circumstances, you find these people who are doing this are very close allies, okay, of the executives. This is the truth, must be told. Even Sophie, you don't benefit. Even my brother in exportations, he is not benefiting. There are some sect kind of people. I can call it a cult group. There are cult group in this country that they think every project that government brings, in good faith, by the way, like PDM, it is in good faith. But there are those cult groups that have already seen where they are going to eat from. Whether the project takes up or it fails is none of their business. I want us to go very slowly and look at after NADS. By the way, I'd look at NADS. I have people in my community up to now. They still talk about NADS. What NAD had done to them. After NAD was started to pick up very well, they brought Operation Wealth Creation. whereby you are telling somebody in a Molata district to grow coffee, okay? You're telling somebody in West Nile their main cash crop that they are used to is what? Tobacco, okay? But you go and enforce to coffee seedling in West Nile, grow coffee in West Nile, and you don't want to talk about their cash crop that they are used to, tobacco. You now come slowly and say, no, okay, we are going to give you cashew nuts. They have never grown cashew nut. They are used to their cotton and sunflower. Are we together? Brought on Operation Well Question. The seedling are brought at the sub-county for coffee, and nobody goes and what? And pick them. But the government has spent over billions of shilling in procurement of what? Of seedling. Are you seeing? Where are the challenges? You have not even sensitized this community about coffee, how to grow it, how to keep it, and so on, and the benefit. But you have gone ahead to procure coffee seedling worth billions of shillings, and others are still at the sub-county, getting even dry there. These are the things. And somebody who have got contract to supply the seedlings, if you come and look at the background of their company and so on, you find that the same cartels, they're the same cocoons.
All right.
At the end of the day, the burden gets back to the farmer, to the local community. So we have been recycling, okay, these projects. This thing I have not started today. It is a recycle process. If this one comes, they pick some money that they want to do to get out of it. If PDM fails, God forbid, I don't want it to fail, okay? In an event it fails, you wait the next, after 5 years, after 2026, there will be a new project, okay? There will be another new project.
All right.
The NADS will be abolished. OWC, right now, if you look at it, OWC is almost done, okay? The project is almost done. You don't now hear. All focus, all guns have been put on PDM.
Your conclusion on that?
So my humble appeal to our national chairman and the leaders of the party and the leaders of the people who are mattering in the executive, let us now come out clearly and start fighting corruption with all our hearts if we want to achieve totally this middle income status we are talking about. Well, if we want to achieve the good plans that government put in place, these people, these economists here, they do a lot of mathematics. They take their time to do research. But when it comes to implementation, the implementers fail these people.
All right. You're live on 98 FM, UBC Radio. We're also on 97.4 FM in Alua, 99.4 FM in Lila. We're also live on Butebo FM on 96.9 FM in Mbale, 98.4 FM in Soroti, 95.5 in Alua. We're also live on Western Nile FM, 98 FM. We're also live on Magic 100 FM. Ampaire Amon Butega is my name, and we're talking about to what extent will the financial budget 2022-2023 solve Uganda's development challenges. In the studios, I have Eli Twineyo Komicsa, is the economist, author, and CEO, Uganda Export Promotion Board. We have Sophie Nampewo, is a senior economist, a civil society budget advocacy group. Felix Adupa is the president, Transformer Cadres Association of Uganda. Ground Zero takes a very short break. We're coming back in a bit. And in this very hour, we get your opinions. We get your ideas on what you think this budget should target. What are the opportunities that you see and what are the challenges? How best can we solve the challenges in Uganda? And how best can we develop this country together? This is UBC. We are educating, inspiring, and transforming the people of Uganda. You will call us on 776-511-426. The number to call us on is 776-511-426. After the break, and you'll be part of this conversation. We are going back for a break, and we pray we don't go away.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
This is Independent Sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Buduri FM, 100.5 Nge FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
At UBC Radio, we broadcast in English, Kiswahili, and Luo, loud and clear, border to border. Keep it at UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
The foundation to good coffee production and productivity is planting the recommended coffee variety in fertile soils, well-prepared land, and holes dug properly of size 2 feet wide, 2 feet long, and 2 feet deep. Because big holes capture more water and food nutrients to enable the planted coffee plantlets establish easily and sustain the coffee plant for a long time. Ensure that you access recommended coffee planting material from coffee nurseries certified by UCDA. This message is brought to you by Uganda Coffee Development Authority. For detailed information, please contact your nearest coffee extension officer in your district or call toll-free line 0800 353530.
Honey, Panange, why are you not responding?
I've been tethering the goats.
Hey, okay.
Anything wrong?
Not as such. But sweetheart,
What?
Mama, is it true drinking alcohol can help prevent COVID-19?
No, my darling. That is going beyond. The simple remedy is you should often wash your hands with soap and running water. Wear a mask while in public and keep a distance of at least 2 meters from another person. And in case of any symptoms, seek medical advice from a professional doctor.
Okay. What about spraying alcohol on my body? Can it kill the virus inside?
No, my dear. It can only damage your skin, but cannot kill the virus inside you.
Thanks, my husband, for educating me.
You're welcome.
I now know that if everyone took up their responsibility,
Yes?
we can together fight the coronavirus.
Yes, my dear wife. The fight against coronavirus is in your hands. This is a message from UBC. UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the casual tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Our dear listener, welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC, we're inspiring Uganda. We're broadcasting live on 98 FM in Kampala, 97.4 FM in Arua, 99.4 FM in Lila. We're also on Butebo on 96.9 FM in Mbale, 98.4 FM in Soroti, 95.5 in Arua. We're also live on West Nile on 98 FM. We're also live on Magic 100 FM. It is the right time you call and share your opinions about this very budget. UBC?
Yes, hello.
Hello, you're live on UBC.
Very good morning, Mr. Moderator and the guests.
A very good morning to you.
Good morning to UBC. Good morning to Uganda.
Good morning.
Is Flavia calling in from Naguru.
Yes, Flavia.
I've decided to talk about this topic of today. I think we all know the economy of the country contributes a lot to the development of the country itself. But how do we do it and to make that every Ugandan benefits from it? I want to say that there's so many Ugandans. Okay, let me start with like there is nothing we're expecting from next year's budget apart from the usual main areas they always tackle, the things of security, infrastructure, and so forth. I want to say clearly here, there are very many poor Ugandans who contribute a lot. They pay taxes indirectly and directly, but they don't benefit from it. When we always talk about security and infrastructure, do we always see Uganda at large as a country, or we just see the noted cities and towns and Kampala itself? We still have poor roads in this country. We still have poor security in this country. That's why we have the things of cattle rationings. We have people breaking from Sudan coming to disturb people in the northern region of this country. So the security we're always investing on, where are we seeing it? Is it just for Kampala alone? It shouldn't be like that. You hear about loans. This country has loans. You can't get a proper budget for it to see that why have they borrowed the what? Why have they borrowed the money? You get a loan. What have you done with that loan? We have mismanagement of money in this country. People who are ahead, they think the money which is being collected is collected for them to satisfy their needs, but not forgetting about the country itself. You are going to get a loan. The loan you're getting is for buying cars for the MPs and who are getting abnormal salary in this country. Not really. Then here comes, you are going to, Uganda is complaining we have dates, but the government is budgeting 24 billion for a burial of a single person. When a poor Ugandan is dying at the hospital, not even a Panadol, they are writing for you, go and get it from the clinic, go and get it from the pharmacies. So why is that we do our best to make sure we support the economy of this country, but we are not benefiting? What the government should do is that whenever budgeting is coming like this, whatever has been budgeted for should yield the fruit so that Ugandans will see the value of their money being given.
All right.
Thank you very much. I remain Flavia.
Most welcome, Flavia, and greetings to the people of Nagulu.
Thank you. They've had you right.
98 FM, UBC Radio. To what extent will the financial budget 2022-2023 solve Uganda's development challenges? Call and share your ideas. UBC.
Hello.
UBC.
Good morning.
A very good morning to you.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Paulo Kuja calling from Amorata.
Amorata. How is Amorata?
Yes, Amorata is just fine.
All right. Your concern, please.
Greetings to Felix Sadupa.
All right.
My opinion is like this. What I've seen the problem in Uganda, it is what Felix Sadupa said on corruption. Most of the time, the budgets that they make and the money that they borrow from outside is all about, when we talk of the debt that the country is having, sometimes you see like the budget is at 40 something trillion for a year. Then at the end you see like 40% or 50% is going to paying the debts that the country has. So the problem that I've seen, this thing is just as a result of the corruption that we have in the country. One, most of the people, when they are doing these things, like when the project comes like PDM or PDM, and the issue of the NADS and the things that have passed, the projects that the government have set, like Emioga, everyone that is doing all these things, the leaders of these things, they see it like they want to have at least to gain something. They don't want to do things like delivering services to the people. So they end up doing things that can only benefit them.
All right.
So that is the problem that I've seen in Uganda. Most of the people they only want things that benefit them, but not the community.
All right.
I think if we can correct that one, then the country could be a country which can be shown.
Thank you, Paul.
Even after the war. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome and greetings to the people of Morata.
All right.
Live on 98 FM, UBC Radio. This is UBC Ground Zero. To what extent will the financial budget 2022-2023 solve Uganda's development challenges? UBC.
Hello.
UBC.
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
We are speaking to Alfred Man.
Your name again?
So let me first say that the region. And I want to understand how is the Eastern region and the road networks of Eastern region because I'm also the one contributing. And I don't know if the dispatches they are going to the Kampala only or is all Uganda. Because if you see the road instructors, the road network, if you go upper country, even to go to the other side, you not good, those are bad. Then you go to the health centers, hospitals, government talking about health. It's like they are buildings. There is no service. They just go and see the building. Huh? But they are talking about, I don't know what's the work of Ministry of Health.
All right.
They are contributing taxes. They are saying even people are contributing money, over trillions of money. People are going abroad that tax. I remember they talked like that over October. They contributed like 7 trillion and the money is going where?
All right.
Yeah.
Your name again? You said your name again? All right. Hello? UBC?
Hello, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
I am Achuk Rashid. I'm calling from Lira.
Rashid from Lila.
Yes, please.
Your concern, please.
Well, I'm grateful for the discussion and the panelists there, Felix and the friends,
We are glad you're listening.
and the country at large.
Okay.
My concern is to your question on what we should be expecting in our budget that is forthcoming. I think we are at a hard time, and Corona is just a temporary problem. The Corona and the Ukraine problem are just temporary ones. But if you've been following our development trends, the country has been investing much in vertical development, that is infrastructure, roads, power, and others. Of course, in the short run, the population suffers. I want to give examples of Ethiopia when they started saying we need to have at least 6,000 megawatts of power. That was between 2010 to 2017.
All right.
Of course, the population suffered. My take is, as we pursue these infrastructural projects, there are two things we need to answer. One, first of all, why do we go for them when we are not ready? I want to give examples of Wekunye, Apache, Lira Cholibu Road. We started taking on that project minus compensating the persons who were supposed to be compensated. But also, two, the road design is not there and whatever. So when the money was secured from World Bank, you're not ready. I think, like one of the panelists inside there said, before we undertake any project, are we ready to execute it? And that's why a small project that is supposed to take only 3 years ends up taking over 5 years, you know? And within that time, because you've not utilized the money that you've borrowed, the interest rate keeps on growing, especially when you borrow from disciplined financial institutions like World Bank and IMF that will not only look at you giving the money, but also the speed at which you are executing the project. So I think, like the Madam said, the Ministry of Finance need to start revisiting the execution of some of these projects so that when we borrow the money, it's used for its own use. We have borrowed sincerely, starting from early 2000. By now, we could have moved very far on these issues of infrastructure, roads, powers, and so on. And by now, we could have been investing on consumptions like PDM and the like.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome and greetings to the people of Lila.
Yes.
To what extent will the financial budget 2022-2023 serve Uganda's? I'm getting one last caller on this, and we are going to give you some time later on because our time is fast spent. UBC?
Juma from Busega.
All right.
Thank you very much with
Most-
everyone in the studio.
Most welcome.
I would like our people to tell us about GDP. How will Juma understand what does GDP mean? Because when for Juma is paying taxes, there is no any sheet which GDP appears there. But for government's sake, it is a song of a daily basis, GDP.
All right.
Then followed by per capita. How will these farmers from Nebi understand what is per capita? What does it mean?
All right.
So government has to come openly and sensitize our people. Mostly, they normally embarked on the people who went to school. And majority of the farmers who participate in the country, very few of them who learned, who went through education. If you don't sensitize the people of Uganda, what does GDP mean? And make sure you interpret it in their local languages. I don't know how many local languages in the country. Make sure, government, please, let the farmers, who are those farmers who are down in the villages, at the remote places, they understand what does per capita mean. What does GDP mean? Now today are telling us we are already at the third world country. There, Jima will say that we need to do research about the analysis. Those analyses coming from where? Who analyze Uganda is already a third side.
Okay.
To me, I think that is a game brain. And then when we go to value-added addition, Museveni has already stayed in power for almost 36 years old, 36 years in power. Up to today, we're just talking of added value. Now, after which year, should it be again another generation coming next to enjoy the added value onto our production?
Okay.
Procurement committee. Someone has said it gently that corruption is chewing Uganda. And this is a very Muse who said last time that Katonda Jali. So it's like we are waiting. Okay, let us all sit down. We wait for Katonda Jali, Katonda to come and fight corruption in Uganda.
All right.
As I'm finalizing,
My
financial
in
analysis,
seconds.
Uganda. Yes. What I've seen, accountability is a problem. We are seeing other neighboring countries, they are firing people whom they got from their offices, fraud. People whom they are seeing the accountability is not smart. We need a smart accountability sheet.
Okay.
When you're balancing, even the other person on a inch can pick just this mere calculator can tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 500, 1,000, 2,000.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome and greetings to the people of Busega.
We are humble. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Allow me pause the callers for seconds. We shall give you some time if time allows. Allow me go back to the studios to address these concerns. And starting with Kamgisha, I requested that you... Juma has a concern, GDP per capita, and also someone who called from Amorata that we borrow to cover what we borrowed. If you may answer those three.
We borrowed to cover what we borrowed. When I was at the university and immediately after, I worked in a business, and I was a general manager in that business. And that's when I understood that you normally borrow to cover what you borrowed. All these people you see in businesses, they are always borrowing to offset, to cover the previous borrowings. So even as a country,
even what you borrowed did not generate some profits for you.
It did, but for you to get a base to start, you will have to have a base, and therefore to move to the next level, you might. I give an example like of a business. When you are starting a business, you need fixed factors. Fixed like a building where you are going to operate your business, say a shop. You need equipment. You may need some machines. If you are going to be a tailor, you need a sewing machine. If you are somebody in confectionery, you need a confectionery machine. and then you need raw materials that you would be using. As you start, you have begun from a low base. You may need some additional loan or some more money to be able now to produce goods, and you get the money to pay this current loan and the previous loan. So the government also does the same. Now let me talk about the budget terms. GDP per capita of Juma from Bosega.
In a
layman's language. First of all, while we all should listen to the budget, you should know that all who listen to the budget are not budget experts. And therefore, when the budget has been read, it should be translated into work, into activities, but also explanation should be given by the technical people and politicians at that low level. Because I am not expecting that the Ministry of Finance or the president is going to be coming to your village to explain to you what GDP is and per capita.
Even you can go back to your village and explain to them what GDP is.
What Adupa and the Transformers and others will be doing is explaining to their people who normally give them votes what it is they need to achieve increased revenues, household incomes, which later on will translate into income per capita. So the common man doesn't need to know per capita income per capita or GDP. The common man needs to be encouraged, supported by the politicians and the technical people at the local level to produce. And one of the ways that has been put in place is the parish development model.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sophie, security takes the lion's share, but we are still having insecurity in Uganda. Why that? And why? How should we handle that?
Thank you. Before I go to that, just to add on to what Juma wanted to know is, we normally want to know as a country if we are growing or not and how we are doing. So GDP helps us put together all the money that we have and see how are we progressing in terms of growth. Are we growing? Are we not growing? It will, and we use it to benchmark against, let me call them different indicators. How are we doing in terms of what we are collecting? How are we doing in terms of what we are borrowing? In terms the money we have, in terms of how we are comparing with other countries. So GDP helps us do that. And going to per capita, we want to find out, using our population that we have, the number of people that we have, how are they faring in relation to this total envelope that we have as a country. I don't know how best to break it down further from that, but I'm sure Adupo will do justice as he goes to the constituencies, talks with his people. Going back to what you were asking about security, if it was in line with what Flavia was talking about. Flavia was able to mention a number of the problems that we have, and she actually didn't have a question. Flavia brought out some of the challenges. We still have poor road networks. We are spending a lot on security, which we need to, because we can't do most of what we would want to do if we are in an unstable economy, or if our security is not doing well. But despite all that, we still have mismanagement of resources and exorbitant expenditure. She talked about the MPs wanting to buy, increasing their allowances. Those are areas that we need to look into to reduce our expenditure. We shouldn't be buying vehicles now or looking at increasing MPs' allowances when we have farmers who would want a bit more resources in terms of credit to input into their agricultural production, to increase production. So these are elements that we need to look into further into the as we come up with this budget and also implement this budget to take out that wasteful expenditure and ensure that what we are focusing on, one, is the priority and the much needed need, and the need being, we are looking at both an individual, as an ordinary citizen, but also our country at large. How do we develop as a community? Are we removing all the hindrances? I liked Flavia's emphasis. We should ensure value for money in use of public resources, and that is something that should go to us as we get into the next financial year's budget.
All right. Adopa.
Just come in
seconds.
Just
give this economy
itself to Sophie. Sophie said it, and actually we all agreed with even Adupa that security is important. And I just said I have just come from DR Congo, and I see the challenges they are facing, and money hates noise, as Matia Kasai just says. You know, if you want to know the importance of security, you know that any country in the world, it has got allies, it has got friends, but may have enemies who could be internal and external. If you want to know the importance of security, you go and look at the war between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine was told when it became USSR, Soviet republics ended and they became countries. Other Europeans convinced Ukraine that it should get rid of its arms and ammunition, including nuclear weapons. It had one of the biggest numbers. Now it has been attacked, and now it is begging for equipment. So security is important because we are a sovereign state, which we have to defend ourselves, but also we defend our neighbors. And we are in a volatile region whereby if we don't ensure security of our people and their property and their businesses, tourism will not come, exports will not come.
All right. Adopa, I was reading some article of Aroda Chema, who is a senior political scientist and retired career diplomat. He said that Uganda's national budget and budgetary process under the NRM regime, truth to be told, is for formality, is a shame, and an exercise in futility. It is at the best an academic exercise whose primary purpose is to deceive and mislead wananchi, donors, and Uganda's development partners to believe that Uganda is a modern democratic state in which the legislative branch of government, namely the parliament, appropriates national resources for economic and social development of Ugandans in accordance with the National Development Plan, which you mentioned, by the way. Do you see this budget as a form of just presentation and end there for formality, or you think Ugandans should welcome it and it is genuine?
Thank you very much. You said that man is called
Aldo Dachema.
Aldo Dachema, whatever the name is.
And you are attached to NRM family, I think.
What? Achema must first appreciate the NRM government before even he start talking too much. 1962, okay, to 1985. If we goes back to that, these economies are here, and you look at the economy of that time, you are able to say that NRM government has done something. NRM government has helped Ugandans from the way we are before up to now. NRM government, apart from any other government, I thought about Ugandans. Let us accept the truth. Under the leadership of Yoweri Museveni, I think NRM government has tried their best amidst all the challenges. So what the person is the question is talking about is challenges. Are we together? He's talking about the challenges that we are facing. Okay, but we
which you mentioned before.
Yes, he's talking about challenges. So it is now incumbent upon us, as members of the party, members who are in NRM, to deal with these challenges. And we have come to realize, we don't even fear saying this, that there are members of the party who have proved to be more problem.
Would you agree with some of the Ugandans who think that NRM has failed, that you have failed?
No, we have not failed. If we have failed, it means that we should not be in power. If you fail the marriage, you don't be in a marriage. You get outside the marriage and you go
You
home.
can be in marriage for some other reasons.
A
or
failed
purposes.
marriage, you can't stay in a failed marriage. So we have not failed. And that's why after every 5 years, Ugandan give us a mandate. Okay? After every 5 years, we have mandates, which means that they still believe that we can fix some of the things. The only issue I'm talking about here, let us fight challenges. Number one challenge that we are facing as members of NRM is corruption. It is not even only in national setup, it's even inside the party. And that is what we are dealing with.
And the
now.
fight should begin with you.
We are starting it.
For how long?
We have been trying our
40
best.
years?
The problem that
Do you still need 40 years to fight corruption in the NRM?
To me, you give us more 5 years, we shall be dealing with some of these
All
people.
right.
We are dealing with them.
Do you think the Ministry of Finance has done its best to present a very good budget for Ugandans through the parliament?
As I...
Or you think there are things that need to be added?
I earlier mentioned before that the technical staffs, okay? The economists like these people here, they have done their best.
All right.
Okay? And
Okay.
sometimes we, the politicians, politicize everything, make
Okay.
everything looks like it is political. Even the budget looks political.
Let me get
so
Kamugisha.
from there, the zero, we bring politics in everything, things which need reality.
Okay.
We even put, at least we have to make sure there's a bit of politics on realities.
Thank
You
you.
can't bring reality politics when people are suffering and dying without medicine in hospital.
Okay.
And you want to bring politics into that.
Kamugisha?
So sometimes we also need to check on this.
Okay, Kamugisha.
No,
Uganda,
man, what is wrong with
I have got
you
a
said
political friend here.
you mentioned earlier that for a home or a given household, you must be earning in order to meet your costs.
Yes.
You spend after earning.
Yes.
What is the standard of Uganda in as far as export substitution strategy is concerned? Since you're coming from that board.
I wanted to add on something about Dupa, but I'll end with that. So, the government of Uganda, the government of Badupa, has come up with a import substitution export promotion strategy as a way of the government showing the role of the state, the role of government, to ensure that we achieve further growth, we reduce poverty, but also it is a goal towards self-sustenance. We need to produce a lot, quality and quantity, that we can consume domestically and we can export. Countries that have developed and advanced, all countries have had to produce products or services that they export. I don't know of any country in the world that has made it that has not exported. So 3 things are important here. As you try to produce for export, you need to rethink production of domestically of those products that you have been importing. Some of the products that you have been importing, you could produce them domestically, especially consumables. India did it, China did it. Maybe they were a big market, but also we are not a small market, because again, when we talk of Uganda, we also talk about EAC. You see, when you talk of regional integration, the whole of EAC becomes an internal market. It doesn't become an export market. So import substitution therefore helps us to save the foreign exchange we would have used to buy certain consumables that we would produce.
Okay.
I must mention that we shall continue importing, because we import raw materials, we import capital goods and equipment, we import intermediate goods, we import factories, we import technology. This we shall continue doing. But I can tell you that Uganda, in the next 5 years, will be exporting more than it ever exported before.
We used to cry for the market. It seems now we have the market.
And that's why...
And now we don't have the products.
And that's why now
even the products that we have are of low standard. The other time Kenya was refusing our milk.
No, moderator, it is not a low standard. The politics, the adupas, the politics.
Your maize had aflatoxin.
The politics. I can tell you, moderator, that actually our milk is very good quality, can even be consumed on the table of the Prime Minister of Great Britain. The challenge has been politics. The Kenyans thought that they were saying that we were producing at the lowest cost. But that is what we call economies of scale and the curtailing cost of production to be efficient and effective. Our milk is good quality. It is the Kenyan producers and farmers think we are outcompeting them. We are outcompeting them. They are producing at the high cost.
As a board of export promotion,
but they brought Brookside here.
As a board of export promotion, how are you going to solve these politics that may not mix with the economics?
You see, Mr. Moderator, you know, politics, and you know, that's why I'm happy I have a duper. Politics is emotion. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to show facts, trying to prove to our brothers and sisters in Kenya that Uganda over the years has undergone phases of efficiency improvements and effectiveness.
Okay.
To show them that we actually our products they care. What we did, we have invited the Kenyan government and the key private sector, and we have had visits. In fact, that's why the Kenyans have again allowed us to export sugar to them and other products. We are solving these problems.
All right. I have a caller. Allow me.
Okay.
Share their opinions. UBC?
Yes, morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you? Thanks for the program.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Helen from Matuga.
Glad that you're listening.
Yes. Now, for me, my concern is on civil servants. You can find that some workers are underpaid. The money is sent, but the people are underpaid. By the time somebody starts claiming for that money, they have already received that money and they have already used it. That is corruption. I don't know how best they can put the payments of people in order direct from public service.
Okay.
Because even some pensioners, you find somebody that's retired, but the payment it takes more than 5 years, and yet that money is always spent.
Okay.
And when somebody is sick, when he or she is a public servant payroll, he or she is deleted there and then. That is indirect way of killing people. Okay. Instead of leaving somebody bedridden in a hospital, getting salary, somebody is deleted. And yet there are even others who have already retired, they have already got their pension, and they retain them in the office to get salary still when somebody has already got the pension.
Okay. Thank you.
That thing should be worked upon. Because some deducting people's money, 10,000 per person or 5,000. That's a lot of money.
All right. This is UBC Ground Zero. Kamugisha, do you have any advice for Helen?
Helen, we have a challenge. One is increasing salaries. Another part, increasing salaries is that will be the government, the state, subject to available financial resources. The other part is that the issues of ethics, the issues of morality, the issues of corruption must be addressed. Okay. Right away, beginning from our own families, right away, beginning from our own homes. Let's groom children. I have seen children that they are in nursery and they are going to become prefects, and you give them money to buy sweets for everybody so that she's bribing them with sweets and they win.
Corruption is being breastfed.
Yes, so we have to have
So you have been giving your daughter sweets to go and bribe voters in schools.
Aduba has been doing these things. Now,
Right.
there is an angle that I want to touch on, moderator.
In seconds, our time is fast
In
spent.
seconds, democracy. Democracy evolves. Democracy is good. Democracy is part of a society's culture. Democracy is not removed from how people live, but also it follows growth. People need incomes first. They need to pay taxes, and then they can choose the best leaders they want.
All right. Caller, UBC.
Hello.
UBC, your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Astel from Banda.
Your name again?
Astel from Banda.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the borrowing of money, madam.
Okay.
So I want them to clarify for me. Uganda is borrowing money, and last time I has entered to borrow money from NSSS. We have so where that money goes.
Okay.
So another, we have to know, like, where Uganda is supposed to do like, when Kenya goes to borrow money from abroad, they cannot get money. They have to put, they are borrowing money. You have to do at the road construction. You not receive money cash, but you have them to some construction road or some development. Then later, not receiving cash.
All right. The network is not that clear, but Adopa will address that issue. Our time is fast spent. We only have only about 4 minutes remaining to end this very program. As we are going to conclude, I'm giving you some seconds, especially starting with Sophie. We're talking about the budget, and I think they're still cooking. How? Take us through the process under which the budget is done until the time it is passed and starts being implemented. In seconds, would you take us through that process?
Thank you. I unfortunately can't take you through the full process because it's exhaustive, but I can tell you where we are right now. The budget has been passed by Parliament, and
if you would go through the process just in summary, because some Ugandan would think that someone comes up from his bed and starts allocating money to this ministry, to the other ministry, without following some structures or procedures. Is that done so?
No. The budget is actually, as the time you get to hear the 48 trillion being the budget for the next financial year, there is a preparatory and consultative and participatory process that is started around August, September, where different stakeholders come in, including the citizens, have space to come in and bring their wish lists, bring their views, and there's guidance from Minister of Finance of what our resource envelope will look like for us to work within. Thereafter, when the consultations are done, we have budget framework papers that are prepared by the different sectors or ministries, departments, and agencies that go to Parliament for approval. Parliament looks through these, scrutinizes them, says you're not putting enough money in human capital development or agriculture or private sector. See how to change this and that, and see how we revise it. So that approval process takes a bit up to around May, where we move from the budget framework paper to the ministerial policy statements, going further down into what the sectors are expected to have or programs now, breaking down what each one of them will be having. And from that, Parliament comes up with the approved budget that we have now when we say we have 48 trillion going into next financial year. And then when the financial year starts in July, we start implementation that goes on for the entire financial year. But also as we do that, the Auditor General, and there is reporting from the ministries, departments and agencies on how they've used the previous year's resources, but also the Auditor General has starts the checking of what has been done.
All right.
Yeah.
Adupa, I'm giving you seconds to give your final comment on how this budget is going to solve Uganda's challenge.
I want to first start with some questions. One, there's a lady who is complaining about salaries and so on. To me, it's unfortunate I'm not in that house, but I would propose that my brothers and sisters who have made it to the house, we need time now to look at, I think, what we call, we can have a commission, salary remuneration commission, okay, to look at people's salaries. It is a big gap. If I was in the house, I would have made such amendments so that we can have a commission that look into salaries. Because even you can see now, members of parliament are having their own allowances, increasing allowances, and so on. Some of these things, people do this with a lot of impunity, which is not fair to other players, okay, in the public service and the civil service and so on, which is not fair at all. So that one need another legislation piece of it to handle such kind of issues. Because issue to deal with salaries, even if you ask me, you ask her, you ask my brother here, it's like asking for a monkey. You call a meeting and say, today we are planning to cut all the trees. Definitely a monkey will answer in affirmative. Now, issues of the budget, I have already said it. As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion, without any bias, things will not be good for us. We'll keep on borrowing. We'll keep on having challenges in each and every development projects that government bring in good faith. But the corrupt leaders, the cult that have been in the corruption cult groups, they will keep on, endangering our country in terms of progress and development.
Thank you.
But the NRM government has got good plan for its own citizen. Unfortunately, the cult group called Corrupt Cult Church
from NRM
has endangered us. Even from the opposition, don't think it's only from NRM. Somebody who is a leader of opposition had been exempted a tax of 300 million car. They don't talk about that. That is a lot of money.
Thank you, Adopa. Sophie, in seconds.
Thank you. I want to use 2 of my seconds to go to Helen. I know government is trying to clean up the payroll, but it's good to still bring out those inconsistencies for them to be able to know and monitor. And like Adupa has promised, we hope there will be a commission to look into it.
I said that I hope my brothers and sisters pick this kind of proposals.
Thank you. But my closing call is to all of us as citizens. Let us spend time on the 14th and listen to the budget. What the minister will be telling us that is coming up in the next financial year. Let us follow that money as the financial year goes on in terms of implementation, monitor the services, bring out the challenges, bring out the gaps, and let us see. We have our leaders here like Adupa and the other members of parliament. Use those spaces to bring the issues out, and we see how better we can improve service delivery, and let us all pay our taxes for better service delivery. Thank you.
Most welcome. Kamagisha, in 2 seconds.
The budget is important, but it is not important if it is not implemented. So the budget should be implemented, so we should all look, politicians, technical people and citizens, to ensure that this budget that has been proposed is appropriate, it has been appropriated, is allocated, is spent, and accountability is given. That culture will be important. Thank you.
Most welcome. We cannot go beyond this. Our time is fast spent. Allow me end here this very edition of Ground Zero. I want to take this very opportunity to thank all you people who've been part of our audience, both on radio and our online audience. In the studios, I had a very special team of guests who helped us to discuss this important topic. To what extent will the financial budget 2022-2023 solve Uganda's development challenges? And in the studios, I had Felix Adupa, the president of Transformer Cadres Association of Uganda. I also had Sophie Nampewo, senior economist from Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. Eddie Tuineyo Kamujsha is the economist, author, and CEO, Uganda Export Promotion Board. And I've been also live on UBC Radio, UBC Butebo, UBC Western Nile, and Magicon 100 FM. Why we should take the budget serious? It's because it allows the government to control the taxation of various industries, investment, expenditure, and many others. So it is such an important thing that we need to give our full attention. I believe that the future of this country belongs to me and you, and our contributions also determine where we want to see Uganda. On 14th June, which I believe is next week on Tuesday, if not mistaken, please create time to listen to the budget speech by the Minister of Finance, and together we will build Uganda. I worked with Bon Chanwin, Bob Bryan, and to many thanks to our executive producer, Doreen Daisy, and our producer, Msimenta Allen. Mpaire Amon is my name, and for God and my country, allow me sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at